guys, what is going on tonight? Hey, Cool Gamer. Hey, SD. Hey, Dragon. Hey, Lori. I sent that email off, Lori, and I'm just waiting for a reply. Hey, Patricia. Oh, I tell you, I do feel a lot better today. I'm really, really tired though. I got I bought the Aleve, but then I bought something else to go with it because like it really does help. I mean, hurt. So I bought it and it was called Mercendol, and it's got like it's over the counter, so it has a little bit of codeine in it, and antihistamine, which I need because I've been sneezing all day, all night for like 4 days. And it's got Tylenol, so it's like Tylenol with codeine. They're like Tylenol ones, but it's got antihistamine in it too. So I took a couple of those and then I'll leave, and I do feel better. But that Mercendol just makes me so tired. Holy crap! Hey Deb, hey Melanie. I think Sela's coming. Deb. I actually see that. I saw that movie with Chloe Grace Moretz. What it was called, "Let Me In." I have it somewhere actually. Wow, I'm out of it. But whatever, I'm gonna read. I want to get through this book, and I'm actually looking forward to speaking to Megan Walsh. I really am. You had to run. I was wondering what happened. I had you playing, and then oh shit, she's live again. Oh, okay, hold on. I need to message her. Might be important though.
Ronnie Lawson. Now,
Who's Ronnie? Hey, Chisa. Maybe she forgot. Or she has something else that she needs to do, which is fine because she covers great stuff too. You'll be on the replay crew. I think I'm just going to get started. I'll start reading. If she pops in, she'll pop in. Right now, we're on chapter 9, and it's called Upstate. Yeah, she knows I sent her the link. But I'm assuming something important came up. That's why she's live. Oh, I think she just stopped. Oh, no, she's still on. No, she stopped it. She must have forgot. Aw. I'll put the link in for her. My kids call me shit from time to time because when he was little asking for me too much, I said I changed my name to shit and you can't say it. Oh, I remember every time I asked my mom, it must be like an 80s and 90s thing. Every single time I would ask my mom what's for dinner, she'd say shit on a stick. It's like, really? Really? What's wrong? I'm trying to come on after my last live. And starting this one, my computer is just swirling and I can't see or hear anything. I only see the chat and your black screen and white swirls. Oh, crap. I think our computers don't like us. Mine's got an attitude problem. All right, I'm going to start reading anyways and then wait for, then of course you're more than welcome to get up here. And maybe try restarting your computer, dear. Dear. I'm wondering that too for mine, Lori, because apparently, what is the latest update? It's a Windows 11, isn't it? Pretty sure this one's Windows 10. Okay, so this is chapter 9, and it's called Upstate. People couldn't stand us. They loved us, they were concerned for us, and we knew it. Huh? Doesn't make sense. People couldn't stand us, period. They loved us, they were concerned for us, and we all knew it. Okay. It was just that this was new territory for all of us. Reve and I were in a place that they didn't know anything about, and they weren't sure how to be around us. No one knew what to do or say, and we couldn't tell them because we didn't know either. Everyone was doing the best that they could, he or she could, but no one could look us in the eye. That's how bad it was. So bad that people couldn't handle the fact of us. I was worried about Reve. I was really afraid that she was going to do something. If she didn't actually die of grief, which I now knew was possible, I was afraid that she might do something crazy. So we stayed together day and night. And I was having a hard time even looking at my mother. She had just lived through the death of my father, and now there was this. All my life, I had always been her capable, handsome, charismatic son. He has to put that in there, eh? Wow. All my life, I've always been her capable, handsome. Oh my God. Now it's just broken-hearted shadow of that. One day, Reve answered the door, and it was Adam's little buddy, Jeremy, asking if Adam could come out to play. Jeremy had been away at summer camp, and I guess no one had had the chance to tell him. So Reve explained to him, as best as she could, that Adam had died and that he wouldn't be here to play with him anymore. Jeremy, she said, would you like to have Adam's bicycle? He said that he would, so Reve went back out to the garage and found Adam's bike. The police had dusted everything for prints, apparently with a fire hose. Yeah, I hear you, Teresa. No worries. There wasn't anything that wasn't completely covered with a sooty black powder. So she got some rags and cleaned the bike off and wheeled it out to the driveway. People always wonder about what Reve did with Adam's things. Well, now at least they'll know what she did with his bicycle. She gave it to Jeremy. By this time, Jeff O'Regan and I had been through everything together. Everything. He had seen me almost die, and now he saw what was happening, that I was slipping away. I don't know how he knew what to do, but he came by one day and invited me up to this beautiful house that he and his wife Karen had in upstate New York. Oh, it says your device isn't connected, Selah. Damn. You gotta get out of here for a while, he said. And if no one else can be with you now, then you can come with me. At that time, Jeff had started his own business as a construction contractor, and this was his busiest season. Without saying it, he let me know that he was willing to take time off, completely interrupt his life, and bring Renee and me into the middle of his and his wife's lives so that he could be with us all day and all night. There she is. Hello.
Okay. Man, after that live last in a minute ago, this has been crazy. It's been like some supernatural stuff, y'all mess with my computer. I'm just saying. Wow. It's really weird. Yeah. Or something else watching. I don't know. Anyway. Here now. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
And I went on live because what we were talking about earlier, actually going with this, Ronnie Lawson's son, you know, the lead investigator for the Summer Wells case.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Yeah, he just got sentenced to 20 years, and he is only going to serve one. For SA, yeah.
See, I knew there was, there was going on there. I fucking knew it.
That's why I'm late, because I was trying to do that really quick and put that up, and it, like, the video wouldn't play. I was trying to get the video to play to show it. It wouldn't work. Like, that StreamYard never does that. It would not let me, so I had to finally just read it. And then it wouldn't let me off to get on here with you either. That was so weird.
I wonder if maybe it was like it was meant to be said. That's why I was telling these guys. I said, she's not here, and I need to go over and look and see what she's doing, because I even said to them, she's doing something important, because she knows I'm live at 7. So I just went to go check.
Thanks for checking, because I'm just telling you, like, that's just weird, you know. I just feel like that's odd.
He was the sheriff, right?
Yeah, he's the sheriff. That when I did that video that y'all watched, remember that I did the Hawkins County theme song at the front and all that stuff? He's the guy with the bald head that I said was suspect, that I feel is very suspect. And like in my gift, in my eye, what I see vision-wise, I see that man associated very heavily with that little girl in a bad way, if you know what I mean. Yes.
And her aunt.
Yeah.
Her aunt is missing. I'm thinking that was a cover-up, because I'm wondering if maybe her her husband had, done her in.
Yeah.
That's all they say, is that she's buried under the driveway. Even Summer Wells knew that. Like, it's what the fuck?
Yeah, this is a mess. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come in and bust all that up. I was just like, I mean, that was jaw-dropping to me. And we were just talking about some of this earlier. Yeah. And then, these other children are now in CPS custody, but there's nowhere else better for them to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Oh, I'm glad that you covered it. Shit, I should do an update on that too, actually, because I did cover Summer Wells somewhat. I did a video on her and her missing aunt, because I felt it needed to be done. And now I'm going to actually do something about that.
Yeah.
The officer, like, come on. This world is fucking gross.
I knew that it was a cover-up. I, like, felt it so deep in my bones. Like, I just saw it, and I knew it. And see, you got the gift, too. And, like, I think everybody that does have a true gift like that, they saw it from day one. Absolutely. Because let me tell you something. These two idiots are not smart enough to cook a boiled egg, much less pull something like this off.
Exactly. Her parents are just, like...
They're brain dead from drugs.
Yep. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And then all those children have been essayed. The boys have come out and talked about it. Yeah. Like, there was so much sick stuff. And that mother, I'm sorry, but she allowed this stuff. I believe she was getting money from it. I think she was selling her. And I really believe in all my heart. You know what I'm talking about with the Masons and the police. I'm just telling you, I see that man's face like through Summer's eyes.
And she's gone, unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, maybe we could do another live together about this.
Yeah, we will, because I've got all kind of like a whole book of stuff, information that I've been keeping track of.
Like, even if we can just go on my channel, we can go on yours too, and I'll give my, I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. If like either way, either channel.
Either way, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not. To me, it's just about getting it out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we'll just talk on the phone, because we've got each other's number, and we'll kind of collaborate on this. But we'll go ahead with this tonight. And I'm so sorry for bringing all that up, but it's just like, whoa.
glad you did it. That's what I told them. I knew it was something. I could feel it. It's like, no, it's something important, or she would not be here. Like it's something.
No, because I was sitting here waiting, had all my food ready and ate and everything.
Yeah, same here.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got like 7 minutes, and I was trying to get that out and get over, and then my computer just started really messing up. So here we're. But anyway, well, we rebuked that, and that went away. So now we're here, and everything's working.
Yeah. I just started reading one page, really. So, yeah, I just started. So right now I'm reading chapter 9, and it's called Upstate.
Okay.
I'm going to find a way to post these pictures, though, in this book. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe just take a picture of the picture and put them on my community tab, maybe. Or somehow put them in a video so that people can see,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And that turtle that he killed, the bastard.
Oh my gosh. He killed a turtle.
I did go over one part, okay, and you're gonna laugh. It was the whole narcissist thing.
Okay.
So here's one part I just read, and it says, and I was having a hard time even looking at my mother. So this is John. She had just lived through the death of my father, and now there was this. All my life, I'd always been her capable, handsome, charismatic son. He just had to have that handsome, didn't he?
Always.
Like when I read that, I'm like, holy, can you get over yourself for fuck's sakes?
You really can't.
Oh my God. Hey Crystal, hey Green Jar. Yeah, I'm feeling better today. I got a leave and I got some other medication, and I'm definitely not in that.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
That sucks. That TMJ, man, that sucks.
Yeah, like I was hurting pretty bad. Oh yeah, I can stick my finger like just barely in the opening of my ear, and it doesn't hurt. It doesn't like throb. Oh, thank God.
By the way, I'm going to tell you something I was listening to earlier, and I think it was not a coincidence because I was listening to you talk about your TMJ last night, and it just came on out of nowhere, and it was talking about how people or children who experience a lot of trauma when they are young have TMJ problems and fibromyalgia pain.
I wouldn't doubt it, honestly. Seriously.
Yeah, I'll send you that video, but anyway.
I just have way too many medical problems for a 38-year-old girl. This doesn't make sense to me, and I don't understand it. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sick of finding out new things. Like, I have to get tested for an MRI in November.
Exactly.
Hey, Jay Sleds. It says, hi, everyone. New here. Plan on rereading the book soon. Welcome.
You are young to be having all that.
Yes, exactly.
And our body has memory. Our cells have memory. Our DNA have memory.
Yeah. All right. I'll continue with this and then stop me anytime you have something to say, please.
Hush for a while, I promise.
Good. Okay. Come on. Let's get out of here, he said. You need some time to relax. I'm going to take you up to the house. So after Adam's funeral, we gave one last press conference to thank the Hollywood police and the media for all their help and to try to express our appreciation to the thousands of people who had taken the time to look for Adam and all the people from around the country who had just wished the best for us and prayed for us and our little boy. Then we flew up to Ithaca to my friend Jeff O'Regan's house. The house itself was in Finger Lakes in upstate New York, right on a lake and surrounded by woods. It was where Jeff and Karen spent part of the year, and he had boats and skis and all kinds of water toys there. We didn't know how long we would stay. We didn't plan anything. We just lived from day to day. In the mornings, Jeff knocked on the door and came in and said, you look terrible. You're losing weight. You can't eat. You're going to get up and we're going to go. And we're going to get into the canoe and we're going to go out and we're going to paddle. And I would say, I can't do it. I cannot get out of bed. He ignored me. We're going to get in that canoe and we're going to paddle across the lake and you're going to talk to me and I'm dragging you out of this bedroom. You're going to get up. Come on. Then in the afternoons, he found me wherever I was and said, I'm going to sit here with you and I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to pontificate. I'm not going to tell you any bullshit. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to you. And that's what he did for hours and hours. I wasn't sleeping. Couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't function. All the classic symptoms, although I didn't know it at the time, of someone who was suffering from profound grief. Day and night, the only thing I thought about was Adam, everything about Adam. It took every little bit of mental power that I had not to dwell on what happened with his last hours were like. I desperately not to think about it or to discuss it or to wonder about it, not to speculate, not to let Reve talk about it because I knew that kind of thinking could destroy me. Oh, you're okay. You're leaving dinner time. Alrighty, Dragon. I might still be here when you get back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime I lay down, the thoughts would start. What did he go through? How painful? How long? Why? I'm just gonna stop right here. Have any of you guys ever seen that movie called Tortured?
No. When did that come out?
It came out quite a few years ago. I'm gonna say 2011, and it was about this couple. They they had a child, similar. Actually, I think it was younger than Adam, and this person took him, and they did you know what I mean. They did some stuff with him.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's passed on. Well, they ended up finding uh, the guy who did it. They kidnapped him, trapped him in the basement, and they tortured the fuck out of this guy.
Oh,
And I was like, you know what? Good, because I would have
dang. That is horrible. What did you say the name of that was tortured? I want to look up that because
yeah.
that sounds like. Is it based off of a real story?
I don't know because it sounds like the Adam Walsh story. The thing is, though, at the end of the day, they find out that the guy that they tortured wasn't even the fucking guy.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've never seen anything like that. I'm trying to think of who it was. It was the
Is
girl.
it like one of those Mind F movies? You know what I'm saying? That.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The girl, the mother was the girl that was in Swim Fan. She was the crazy one. She was also in that movie with shit. Of course, I can't think of the names. Oh my god, they're two amazing actresses too. Goldie Hawn and the other one.
She's well known. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Goldie Hawn and oh my god, Kate Hudson's mom, Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn.
Oh.
That was her, and then there was Susan Sarandon. They were they used to be best friends, and then they kind of ventured off, right? Because they were they grew up, they had lives and whatever. But anyways, so where the fuck are you going with this? I don't know.
Oh, I just looked it up. I saw it actually. It says Tortured 2008 thriller crime.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go look at that later tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for recommending it.
Oh, that's what I was going with. Okay, so that movie in particular, where Susan Sarandon and Goldie Hawn were playing in. So Susan's daughter was the daughter in that movie. I can't remember her name. I want to say Christina. No, something Christensen. I can't remember. Anyways, she's in it. All right. Anytime I lay down, how long and why? No way. None of that. I kept telling myself, if you let them, those thoughts will kill you. Ray and I had brought along a picture of Adam with us. We put it on the mirror in the bedroom, and that's what we did for a lot of the time. We would lie in bed together and look at him. But there would always be a knock at the door, Jeff again, making sure that we were okay in there, and telling us that it was time to get out of bed, even when we thought we couldn't. There was always something for us to do because Jeff always invented it. He forced us to eat, to go places, to do things. He saved my life. Jeff had a huge hang glider that he used to tow behind his powerboat out on the lake, and one afternoon he and I went hang gliding. I suppose it's a dangerous thing to do because if anything goes wrong, you dive into the water at about 90 miles an hour from way high up. But I was doing lots of dangerous things at the time, riding motorcycles, being the daredevil. Thank you, Erica Christensen. That's her name. She was in the movie Tortured. She played the mom. Jeff had a huge hand glider. Oh, I did read that. It's a dangerous thing to do. On this day, I was strapped into the hand glider. being pulled behind the boat, really soaring out at the end of the tether. And then all of a sudden, I crashed. I didn't. Oh,
Of course you did.
uh,
This is so unbelievable.
yeah. Okay, so it is 2010. That's when the movie came out. It's called Tortured. I
Okay.
didn't lose consciousness because I remember hitting the surface of the water hard and then the sensation of sinking, settling down toward the bottom of the lake. I was all tied up in the tow line in the glider's harness, hanging upside down, maybe 20 feet below the surface, tangled and drifting. Most people would have panicked, and all I felt was suspended in time. Yeah, here he goes again.
He's a superhero.
Throughout my life, I have survived so many close calls, so many brushes with death.
You're doggone right.
Yeah. And every time as I looked down at my chest to where the clasps and every time I had struggled and fought against it, but now, this time, as I looked down at my chest to where the clasps and the fasteners were, there didn't seem to be any point in unbuckling myself. I was calm. I felt no urgency about lifting my arm to free myself. That far down in the ice cold water, drowning didn't seem like such a terrible thing. Hi, Haley. Just found out about this case the other day and I'm in a rabbit hole. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a lot.
Welcome to the freak show then, because it's deep.
A lot. And then, I don't know why, but just as I was beginning to run out of air, I watched my hand come up and unfasten the harness. I held my breath, unbuckled the belt, and slipped out of the rigging. It was me who did it. I swam to the surface. At some point after that, Jeff and Joe came up to me one day in the driveway, and Jeff said, I know what you're trying to do. You're not fooling us. I can see right through you. And if you do it, you'll break my heart. You'll break everybody's heart, and you're not going to do it. You're not going to get away with it. We know you. You were thinking that you can't deal with this. I've seen you in a lot of bad situations, and this time you want to leave the world because it was just too painful. But if you do that,
okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to put you on mute for a minute.
Okay. But if you do, you'll be a coward, John. That would be a coward's way out, and I won't let you do that to me, to your mom, to your brothers and sister. That would be the most selfish thing of all. And you're not like that. You're not selfish. Are you sure? Because I beg to differ on that one. You never have been. You've always looked out for everyone else. I've seen you beaten to a pulp and washed away in the ocean when everyone thought you had drowned. But you never gave up. Your dad was a fighter, and you're a fighter too. You can't give up now. I'm not going to let you. Then Joe said, you're my brother. My whole life, I've always looked up to you. And if you do this to yourself, you'll destroy all of us. We can barely deal with losing Adam as it is. And if, in your own sneaky, stupid way, you figure out how to kill yourself, then there will be nothing left.
That's his brother? Is that his brother he's talking about? Okay.
Yeah. I've seen your KJ videos, but when I made the connection that this is the same Adam Walsh you've been talking about, I realized I've been missing out. Yeah. Yeah, he beats up sharks, though, guys.
Yeah. He's a one-man butt-kicking contest, literally.
Dad is watching you, and Adam is too. We all know what it is that you're trying to do. It was very stupid, very, very stupid. But I was hurting so much that I wanted to take the easy way out. I now believe that at the time, what I was thinking was that I could kill myself and make it look like an accident. I could fool them so that they would never know. That way, Reve and my family wouldn't be destroyed, and I could go on to the next life and see Adam and my father and be out of my horrible pain. Yeah, it's a book by John Walsh as well as Susan Shinette, something like that. So yeah, he did help read it.
Well, you could tell he definitely put a lot of touches in there.
Oh, he definitely
did. He really paints himself
a martyr. Yeah. Because I was already dying, absolutely dying of a broken heart, I thought that I could find a way to get rid of my pain so that no one would ever know. No one except Jeff and my brother Joe, but they caught on pretty quick. It was Jeff who said, I won't let you leave us. And my brother Joe, so young, who said, you cannot do this to yourself. And Reve, who kept telling me over and over, John, We were not the victims here. Adam was, and all of them were right. Jeff had
Well,
graduated. What's right?
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say Reve's right about that.
Yeah.
I mean, John's not the victim. Adam. I mean, they weren't like, I guess. Of course, that's their son. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
it happened the way they said, like you can imagine something like that happening, your baby, your son. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, but John sometimes he does seem to make it about him. You know what I'm saying? More than about Adam. That's all I'm making a comment about.
Yeah, and you're right. Every single time.
Yeah.
Jeff had graduated from Cornell, and the campus wasn't far from his house. I needed to keep my mind occupied, and I decided that this would be a good time to find out about some things. I asked Jeff about it, and he said that he was sure that Cornell would let me use their library. One morning I went over and I said, "I'm the father of the little boy who was murdered. I don't go to classes here or anything, and I don't have a car, but I was wondering if I could use the library." Ithaca wasn't that far from Auburn, and I guess there had been some coverage in the local press because they said, "Sure, absolutely, we know who you are. Come on in." I spent hours in the library in the microfilm collection, looking at newspapers, magazines, and statistical reports. I wanted to find out about the kidnapping of children, how often it happened, and what had been done to prevent it. One of the things I pulled was FBI's annual uniform crime report. In it, I was amazed to see that there were no official statistics on child abuse, missing children, or even kidnapping. I found some magazine articles about the case that Les Davies had mentioned to the press, about how the FBI had gone in to investigate the disappearance of a $500,000 horse from a breeding farm in Kentucky. The Bureau assumed it had jurisdiction, said a spokesman, because of the value of the horse. Then I looked up at the actual law that covered kidnapping, something called the Federal Kidnapping Act, which authorized the FBI to enter a case if someone was unlawfully abducted and held for ransom, or otherwise. So what I suspected all along was true. The Bureau could investigate a kidnapping case, even of an animal, without a ransom note or proof that state lines have been crossed. They could basically get into a case if and when they felt like it. Next, I tried to find out how the FBI had gotten jurisdiction over kidnappings to begin with. That was when I found an article from the New York Times dated July 30th, 1933. J. Edgar Hoover heads new crime bureau division created by President Roosevelt. Will war on kidnappers, and another article from the following year, the Lindbergh Law, and the activity of federal agents threatened to kill kidnapping. As it turned out, the Federal Kidnapping Act was also known as the Lindbergh Law because it was passed by Congress as a result of sheer public outrage, and not long the Lindbergh kidnapping in 1932. The suit made it a federal crime to send a ransom demand through the mail, and it did something else too. From the time it was first founded, the FBI had basically been just a small, do nothing agency that could investigate only crimes committed on federal land. But the Lindbergh Law gave it power outside those jurisdictions. It was this law that gave Elliot Ness and his G-men the green light to hunt down all the mobsters and crime gangs who were abducting people and then fleeing across state lines. In other words, the Federal Kidnapping Institute was what had put the FBI on the map. What all of this meant to me was that the FBI, whose agents had stood in Hollywood Police Department, had told me to face what they had no authority to search for my son, was only in business in the first place because on a cool spring night 50 years before, someone had broken in through the second floor window of an isolated house in New Jersey countryside and kidnapped Charles Lindbergh's baby right out of his crib. We stayed at Jeff's place for a few weeks and finally decided it was time to go home. We go back to Hollywood at the beginning of September. Maybe that was too soon. We didn't know what the right time would be. There was no one to ask. During the time that we were gone upstate, Grandma stayed at her house to keep an eye on things, and when we got back, Reve asked her not to leave. Not for Graham's sake, but because Reve was so used to Adam and all the activity of his life as school, swimming, baseball practice, and that she just couldn't stand the thought of the two of us being left together alone. Things were too quiet without Adam. So Graham stayed. She never asked why or said, "I've got to get back to my house." That was Graham, unconditional. If he didn't want to talk about it, she didn't want to know. She was there, solid as a rock. Graham stayed with us for almost a year. She says that we went to Ithaca to try to save our souls. When we came back, she was afraid that neither one of us was going to make it. We were both getting thinner by the minute, and she was genuinely afraid that Reve was going to have a nervous breakdown. Some days, I might be able to function when Reve couldn't. And then, if Reve came around and had a fairly decent day, it was my turn not to be able to do anything at all. Graham understood how deep our grief was. In the middle of the night, Rebecca and I would get up and go into Adam's room and sit on the bed. And though through the wall, Graham would hear us crying. At first, I went to two different religious people for help, but ministers couldn't help me, and neither could rabbis. It's God's plan. What kind of bullshit is that? Even my cousin, Father Mike, who had delivered Adam's eulogy and later became a connoisseur, had his faith shaken to the roots by Adam's death to the point that he started to question both God and his religion. Priests don't have children. They never have been married. Most of them have never had sex with a woman. They don't know that intimacy. They certainly don't know how it changes your life to have a child. The clergy had no answers for me, and they were supposed to be the experts. So I tried it. I went to this well-known therapist known in Miami whose son had been murdered. Everyone I knew recommended this guy, a psychiatrist whose specialty was grief counseling. At the beginning of the first session, he set the clock and said, "You're a very special patient. I don't even think I'm going to charge you." Oh, of course. Must be nice.
Mm. He could afford it, too.
Exactly. I said, "Well, I certainly don't expect you to do this for free. Tell me about it. I know that your pain is unbearable." By the second session, he was sitting there, tears in his eyes, talking about his son's death, about how it had destroyed him and cost him his marriage, across the desk from crying.
Jeez. Okay, he turned around. Now he's his therapist. Basically, for the psychologist he went to go see. Is that not what he just basically said?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Here you go. It says, "I was thinking, I'm not supposed to be the counselor here. You're the psychiatrist."
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God. It happens every time we speak before we read, every time both of us. No. Then he says, "I never went back. I knew what had helped me. It was Jeff O'Regan saying, 'I'll sit with you for hours and I won't say one word.' And my brother Joe saying, 'We love you.' As for Reve, she was always so afraid to do anything that might reflect badly on me or tarnish my image. She went to a therapist too, in a typical Reve fashion, cut right to the chase. She went in and sat down and said, 'I was having an affair and then my son was murdered.' 'My God,' the woman said, and then she put her hand on Reve's arm to comfort her. We were searching, completely desperate. People said that we should give his things away, start our lives over, but we didn't know how. One of the things we needed to know was whether we would be allowed to have Adam's remains cremated. We wanted to scatter his ashes out over the ocean because he loved it so much. During the 2 weeks that Adam was missing, Dr. Ronald Wright, the Broward County medical examiner, was the one who had reached out to me and said, 'You must come to grips with the fact that Adam may be dead.' He was the first person I trusted. He understood what it means to have a child. And now he was the one who had official custody of Adam's remains. So that was where I went one night, to the morgue, to see Ronald Wright. First thing he said to me was, 'You look terrible. You look like a ghost. You're not dealing with this very well, are you?' I've been trying so hard to keep the stiff upper lip after finding out about the FBI. I was so bitter and so angry, mad at everyone. My days were filled with crying. I couldn't stop throwing up. No one was giving me any advice. No one knew what it was like. I was an intelligent person, but I felt like that no one had walked in my shoes. I was so desperate for someone to tell me, and you will survive this. By this point, I learned about reality. I knew about death. I knew, holy fuck, again with the me. That's why I don't like him, for starters. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm. Among a list of others.
Exactly.
Long list. But I mean, he is so about himself.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. Aesop, she's like, I definitely believe that. The fact he's doing what he is to his daughter simply because she wanted to look into Adam's murder lets me know he's hiding something. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You better believe it. Where there's smoke, there is fire. And in that old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Exactly. I knew about death. I knew all about what men do to children and to women. So I asked him, "How do you perform autopsies on 12-year-old girls who have been tortured by drug dealers and pimps, who've been disemboweled and had their nipples cut off? How do you deal with it? I've got to know how." Dr. Wright was a lawyer, a doctor, and an expert witness highly regarded by the judicial system. He took a breath and said, "Well, then I'll tell you. I'm not a deeply religious man, John, at least not in the traditional sense, but there's something that I've come to learn firsthand over the past 15 years, and it is this. I believe that there is such a thing as true goodness in this world." Also, there's true evil. People who don't believe that the devil walks this earth have not seen the things I have. I know through experience that there are people out there who believe that they have the right to do whatever they like to whomever they choose. If they want to have sex with a woman or a dog,
Yeah.
or to rip, beat, and torture anyone at all, they do. These people are not insane. They're as sane as you and me. But they don't live by the rules of any moral code, at least not one within human society. They're so incredibly selfish that they only live by their own rules, and these people are horrible, horrible and evil. But I also know that if there is one thing about the Creator, whatever that higher power it is that we as human beings are given the choice between doing good and evil, because I'm equally certain that there are people who are good. John, there's an old saying which says that all evil needs to succeed for good men to do nothing. And you are one of those ones that has the ability to do good. I know that because I've never seen anyone do what you did during those 2 weeks that your son was missing. The way you used every facet of yourself to mount that search. What you are living through now will not destroy you. It will not kill you in and of itself. But if you let it, it will take you down, and then the evil will have victimized you twice. You will become the second victim of this killer. If you allow him to, he will destroy you as well. Do you know what? At night here, when I do these autopsies, is when I'm called on to testify as an expert witness at a trial. I love it when my testimony helps put someone who deserves it onto death row or behind bars, because I do believe that I'm on the side of the good and that there are others who are on the side of the evil. That's how I dealt with it, John, because that's my mission and that's what I know. Ronald Wright was the one who focused me. He was the one who said to me, "It's just that simple, John. There's evil and there's good." My mother says that when I came back from Jeff's house, I was different. I was still the same person, but something about me had changed. She says that she can still see me pacing in the hallway on McKinley Street, but saying, "I don't know what I'm going to do, Mom, but I've got to do something." I had this anger, she remembers. Suddenly, I was furious. One ruthless, heinous act by a remorseless individual. It could have destroyed us. Instead, we became a movement.
That friend of his is at the coroner's office. He was just friends with the guy at the coroner's office.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just want to make a little note of that.
Yeah, like I don't know. Well, maybe not just not friends. He was the one that did the autopsy of his son.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of like he shouldn't be that good of friends. Just like if your son was killed, you're just not going to swing by the morgue and have a chat with the coroner unless you're friends with him. Like that's odd.
It is odd. He went right to him to ask him all these questions. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, and there weren't even questions like, asking about what happened to Adam specifically. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just find it odd. I mean, it just seems like they were friends or something already. Yes. So, in a lot of these cases, you'll notice that there are a lot of, connections, connecting dots, whatever.
Yeah, because that is very bizarre to me, to go to the person who, well, I would say do an autopsy, but he couldn't even do that because there's only one body part, right?
Mm-hmm. But he would have to be the one to say, "Oh, well, this is Adam." Like we talked about, that's the one thing that his daughter was questioning was that picture not lining up and stuff. That's interesting.
It is, actually. Oh, great. We're on chapter 10, and this one's called Politics.
I bet this is going to be a raving glow of his political positions.
Yeah, something like that. I just want to see how long it is. It's not too bad. Oh, shit. Maybe it is a little long. Oh, well. Half.
You can read fast, and I'm not going to talk, so go ahead.
All right, number 10. When we got back home to Hollywood, 20,000 letters were waiting for us. Prayers and condolences, mass cards, and notices that trees in Adam's name had been planted in Israel. We stored them in boxes and garbage bags in the garage and eventually rented a mini storage space. At first, while Adam was still missing, the letters hadn't asked for anything, but now there were others, the ones that said things like, "I'm the parent of a murdered child," or 10 years ago, my ex-husband took our kids to Guatemala and I haven't seen them since, or "My child's been missing since last April and I could never get the police to do anything." And then there were the envelopes, more by the day that said, I can relate to what happened to you because this is what happened to me. I don't know what to do to help, but there's some money. Here's a check. Use it any way you see fit. Oh, so that's what happened. He saw dollar signs.
Yep.
Then sometime in the middle of September, right after we got back from Jeff's place, I got a call from the Washington office of Paula Hawkins, a Florida senator who, a month or so earlier, had tried to get the FBI involved in the search for Adam. The call was from a guy named Jay Howell, the chief counsel of the Senate Investigations Subcommittee that Paula chaired, a committee that was beginning to look into the issue of missing kids, runaways, stranger abductions, and parental kidnappings. Jay said that he wanted to talk to me about a piece of legislation that we had first heard about back when Adam was missing. It was called the Missing Children Act. As Jay explained it, about 5 months before, Paul Simon, a Democratic congressman from Illinois who was interested in children's issues, was trying to help Julie Patz, wrote a guest editorial in the Washington Star saying how it was outrageous that the FBI would look for stolen automobiles but not for missing children. Almost immediately, the FBI fired back a response. There was no need for any national legislation on the issue, it said. That's when Paul Simon introduced a bill in the House that would require the government to keep a file on missing children and the unidentified dead. A week later, Paul Hawkins introduced a similar version of the bill in the Senate. Together, the two versions were known as the Missing Children Act, and in Washington, they hadn't even made it to first base. They were dying on the vine. Still, they were the only legislative initiatives going on. Nothing else was even on the table. Jay had lined up Julie Patz and Kamala Bell, the mother of one of the 29 young black boys who had been found murdered in Atlanta, to testify on the Hill for a hearing on the bill. He asked Hervé and me to testify too. I knew nothing about Washington. I had never been involved in political process except to vote, and I knew nothing about how legislation is enacted. But I knew what we were up against. It seemed to me that most legislation and lobbying on the Hill dealt with big business and powerful interest groups that had money behind them, but no pressing economic incentives were attached to children's issues. Children can't vote. Still, Jay's gut feeling was that, in spite of all that, if we worked at it, we could get this bill passed, and I agreed with him. So Hervé and I said yes. The first week in October, we flew to Washington and got into a taxi for a little tour around town. The driver was showing us the sights, the White House, the Washington Monument, saying things like, this is the National Rifle Association, and this is the ASPCA building, and this is the Organization of American States. We were interested in doing some research into the issue of the missing children, and Hervé thought it would be a cakewalk. She was matter of fact about it. Could you just take us to where they do all the business on children issues, she said, to the children's building, please? He said, well, there really is no such thing as a children's building. There's no building that's specifically for children. We couldn't believe it. There were big, beautiful buildings for guns and dogs and cats and the Red Cross and the U.S. Mint, and nothing for children. Hervé thought to herself, well, somebody's better get the bricks and mortar because we're coming in and it's going to be a skyscraper. On the morning of October 6, 1981, 8 weeks after Adam's death, Hervé and I appeared for a hearing before the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations and General Oversight of the Committee on Labor and Human Resources of the 97th Congress to explore the cause and effect of missing children, focusing on home environment, local law enforcement agencies, and citizen action groups. Ted Kennedy was there, Paula Hawkins, and also a horde of press, which we were really grateful for at least until they all suddenly went running out of the room. We had no idea what all the commotion was about until somebody finally told us, which was when we realized we probably wouldn't be getting so much coverage after all. Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, had just been assassinated.
Wow.
So the hearing went on as scheduled, and at the start of it, Julie Patz told the community how, on the morning of May 25th, 1979, she had taken her 6-year-old son, Ethan, out to the sidewalk in front of her home in New York City on what would have been the first morning that he ever walked the block and a half to the school bus by himself. She could see the bus and lots of children and parents that were around. She watched Ethan walk for half a block, then turned around and went inside. That was the last time she ever saw her son. At the time, of course, no one knew that no trace of Ethan would ever be found. One of the news photographers had asked Julie's husband, Stan, to cry for a picture because that way, when they find the body, I won't have to come back. Kamala Bell, testified on October 21st, 1979, an elderly neighbor and her 9-year-old son Yusuf to go to the store because he was only a kid in the neighborhood who would go for her without asking to be paid. Yusuf left for the store at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and never came back. A few weeks later, his body was found in an abandoned school. We did not have the influence, the money, the power, the things that are necessary to get a story told, Mrs. Bell said. Finally, when he was found, the committee did rally. That was a little late. Yusuf had been... Trigger warning. Yusuf had been strangled, and things went on, and things go on now. When it was our turn to speak, Rebbe and I placed a picture of Adam in front of us on the witness table. I told the committee about Adam and about how much his life had meant to us, and about how it was to lose him. We told the committee firsthand that we had learned how little help there is for parents in our situation. I testified about how, since Adam's death, we had contacted nearly 20 small missing children agencies throughout the country, and that there were estimates of over 150,000 missing children each year, 100,000 runaways and victims of parental abduction, and perhaps as many as 50,000 stranger abductions. I told them that as a result of our 7-minute appearance on Good Morning America, 3 of the missing children whose pictures we showed had been found. Good. I want to hear that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, people believe what they see on television, I said. But when a small child is missing, the FBI comes in immediately with an individual similar to Robert Stack in the role of Elliot Neese, and the SWAT team swoops down on the villains and the child is found. The grim reality is that of what happened to Adam, the most cases of individuals got no support or help whatsoever and returned to their homes emotionally and financially devastated. The next day, under a picture of Julie Patz wiping away her tears, the New York Times ran an article about the hearing. It is certainly evident that the priorities of this great country are in some disorder. My quote read, "When a country that can launch a space shuttle that can return to the Earth and take off again, a country that can allocate millions of dollars to save a small fish, the snail darter in the Tennessee Valley River, threatened with extinction, does not have a centralized support system or a nationwide search system for children that are missing." We had no idea where we were heading, not a clue. The house was ready to go into foreclosure. We had gone through our life savings at the time, something like $13,000. We still had all our bills to pay, and I was trying to hang on to my marketing job with not much more than adrenaline and drive. But Ray kept saying, "John, what are we going to do with all of this knowledge that we have about the terrible state of things that no one seems to know about?" We were angry for a lot of reasons, but mostly because we had most needed help, any kind of help. Nothing had been there for us. It didn't exist. Are you kidding me? They were the most helped family.
Help. I was just saying, they did have a lot of help. Oh. None of us would have gotten that kind of treatment that they got. I mean.
Yeah.
Look at all the shows and everything they were put on. Good Morning America, all these other shows. Like, not very many people get that kind of coverage. Kind of makes you think they're ungrateful.
Yeah, exactly. But we also had found enough faith in human nature to think that if people knew about the problem, they'd do something to stop it. It's just that they have no idea, we told ourselves. It's just that they don't know. We now had tens of thousands of letters offering help and a few $1,000s in contributions. It began to draw on us that maybe we weren't so alone after all. You think?
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to take things to the next level. We decided to get organized. We didn't know the first thing about starting a nonprofit organization. We barely knew what one was. But that didn't stop Reve. In a statement to the local paper, she announced that she was going to open an office to work full-time on the issue of missing children. Now I have a cause, she said. It's like something that's been determined. Its name was Adam Walsh Outreach Center for Missing Children. We had to move out of the old Hollywood police station, so we ran ads in the local newspaper asking for available office space. The mayor of Pembroke Pines, right next to Hollywood, called us and said that he would donate a little police station in his town that wasn't being used. It was pretty grim, one big room with a partition in it and 3 spaces with bars that had been used once as holding cells. Reve moved file cabinets into the cells and used them as storage space. Her office had a door and a 2-way mirror that looked into the main room. She figured that in the old days, it must have been an interrogation room. People donated a lot of things: office furniture and couches, typewriters, and office supplies. The first-hand volunteers were many of the same people who had been searching for Adam. Joe and Jane and Graham volunteered too. And pretty soon, even more people started showing up to help. John Monahan told a reporter from the Sun Tattler that we could still use stationery and some business equipment, and that he had told he had an old IBM typewriter, which could do fine if it were repaired. At the very beginning, the center had 3 goals: doing whatever we could to help Paula Hawkins get the Missing Children Act passed, helping police agencies to recover abducted or missing children, and offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Adam's killer. One day, while Reve was still getting things set up, a woman came into the office and seemed really upset. She asked if she could talk to Adam Walsh's mother. So Reve told the woman to come into her office and sit down. The woman told Reve that she needed someone to help her find her missing baby. The woman and her husband had been camping down the Keys along with a friend, a guy who was staying with them in their camper. One night, the guy started doing drugs, then everyone went to bed. The next morning, when the woman and her husband woke up, both the guy and the baby were gone. Later on, the guy came back, but he seemed strange and wouldn't tell them anything. The woman was scared, and she did go to the police, but they didn't seem particularly alarmed, so she had come to the center. That was when it hit Reve. What could she do? She wasn't a professional. She wasn't a social worker with a big case file or anything. She had only started doing this work the week before. The little boy's name was Thomas Perry, but everyone called him Boo. He was 2.5 years old, and as it turned out, Reve wouldn't have had time to do much of anything to help find him anyway, because pretty soon the cops did. Little Boo Perry's body was found in a Key West swamp. This guy who was supposed to be the couple's friend had taken the baby out and drowned him. We had some money from donations to get the center going, but even before we left to testify in Washington, we knew that it would take a lot to keep it running and really get it established. So we had scheduled our first fundraiser, the Adam Walsh Memorial Benefit, to be held in the parking lot of the Hollywood Mall on October 17th and 18th, right after we got back from D.C., and at the start of what President Reagan had declared as National Missing Children Week. One of the people helping Reve was Ada Wolf. She had been working the phones, going door to door, publicizing the benefits to reporters, and before long, she told us that she had collected $21,000 and a lot of raffle prizes for the benefit. Then on the morning of the benefit, Reve got a call from Ada Wolf. She was in hysterics. Reve asked her what was wrong, and she finally broke down and told her. Ada Wolf had not actually collected any money after all, and there was no raffle prizes. She had just felt so sorry for us and wanted to help us so much that she had made the whole thing up.
What?
Shit.
I didn't see that coming.
Me neither. All along, everything that she had told us about getting the benefit together was a lie. Reve hung up the phone and didn't even slow down. Okay, everybody, we've got to get this thing going together and hurry. Let's get going. We've got to get some prizes. It was less than an hour before the benefit was supposed to start, but Les and Jeff ran out and with their own money bought bikes and kids' watches and whatever else they could find. That's how things were in those days. There was no time to catch your breath. That same weekend, a TV crew from NBC's Real People came down to film us. Then we went back for a second interview on Good Morning America to push for the missing children bill. We also went to Chicago to be on the Donahue show. Jesse Jackson was supposed to go on and ahead of us because he was the most important guest, but he told me to go first and said, "You've got a story to tell, John." He said, "You got to get out there and tell it." Wonder if that's even true.
I doubt it. It don't sound like.
Yeah, like. So you get out there and tell it. In the meantime, Jay was prepping me for a parallel hearing scheduled for November 18th before a subcommittee in the House of Representatives. Jay told me Paul Simon is sponsoring the missing children bill in the House, and he's on the subcommittee, so he's going to be a very sympathetic ear. But Don Edwards is the committee chairman, and he's got a lot of power. He's a former FBI agent, and he's siding with the borough on this one against us. He thinks this legislation would interfere with local police jurisdictions and make more paperwork for the FBI. So he's going to try and keep the bill from ever getting to the floor of the House for a vote. What you've got to understand is that other members of the committee are going to bow to his wishes. They're going to knuckle under him and vote against us too. Jay kept it up. He was prepping me in cars, on elevators, in offices, everywhere. I'd say, tell me this. What about that? And he would. We were like the coach and the boxer getting ready for a fight. Jay was my source, giving me all the background. He knew all the staffers on both sides, knew who was for the bill and who was against it. He did the homework. He knew the scuttlebutt. John, take a look at this. Stay away from that.
I'm sorry.
Like scuttlebutt.
No, whenever he was talking about he was something with the elevator and something else I had a image that wasn't good, and I was like, I bet he was.
Yeah.
You said scuttlebutt. And I was like, oh no. Oh, sorry.
No worries. John, take a look at this, but stay away from that. Focus on this, don't pay any attention to that. Jay Howell had worked on the Hill with legislators and had a lot of respect, even reverence, for the process. I didn't. To me, none of it was particularly impressive. I wasn't arrogant about it. Pfft, bullshit.
I doubt that.
Uh-huh. But I had come from the business world. I was used to having a staff running meetings, being responsible for budgets, making presentations, talking to bankers and CEOs about financing and development. Going to Washington wasn't a big, intimidating step for me. The only reason I was going in the first place was to get some things done. I had no time for pleasantries, for all that bullshit that's part of the political world. True, the buildings were beautiful and the Capitol was impressive, but that's not where the congressman's office were. They were in buildings across the street that looked pretty much like any other big white marble building in Washington. When someone refers to a person who is testifying before Congress, most people picture it happening in the House or Senate chambers, those big rooms that you sometimes see on TV. But that isn't the way it really happens. You actually give your testimony in much smaller hearing rooms that are in buildings across the street from the Capitol, such as the Russell or Dirksen State Office buildings. Even Paula Hawkins' office looked pretty much like any other office. There was a big official seal of the great state of Florida, but otherwise it was a room with desks and chairs and cabinets in it. Paula Hawkins was my senator, but she was also a good human being and a caring grandmother. That's the way she treated people, and that's what impressed me. Paul Simon over in the House was the same way. A bright, gentle, humble man, he and Paul were the kinds of people that I had enormous respect for. The House hearings opened on the morning of November 18th. Reve and I were already up there with our name tags on, waiting to be called to testify. Don Edwards was going through all the usual stuff about how today this august body is holding hearings. And I would like to recognize my distinguished colleagues. And is there anyone who would like to enter a statement for the record? Two people who did were two Democrats, Harold Washington from Illinois and Pat Schroeder from Colorado. Both of them said that they wanted to have their prepared statements entered into the record, and then they stood up and walked out of the room. Yeah, so arrogant you can smell it through the TV. Exactly. Hey, Antistic.
I mean, he reeks of arrogance.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of, like, you know how KJ, she'll talk about, like, don't do this and don't do that, and, like, I'm not, this way, and then she goes and does exactly the thing that she says that she doesn't do or is not. It's like that.
It is.
It's like a male version of that.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. I had come all the way from Florida to Washington, paid for my own flight and hotel room, and now these elected officials could not even be bothered to give us, the parents of a murdered child, the dignity of 5 minutes of their time to hear what we had to say. Reve was shaking. She was practically in tears. I leaned back to Jay Howell and said, Jay, can they do this? Do they have the right to just get up and walk away like that? Jay said, of course they do, John. They do it all the time. It's perfectly routine. They have other things to do, other hearings, other votes. They can't stay in this hearing room the whole time. They enter their statements for the record, and then they excuse themselves. You have to stick with protocol.
Good. I'm glad somebody told us something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, entitlement much.
Then, of course, John's response was, the hell with protocol. I had been invited to take time off from my work to come at my own to Washington. Wow. And no matter what anybody said, it looked to me as if these people were making a statement by leaving, and in effect saying that they couldn't be bothered to sit there and listen to witnesses who were testifying for a bill that they had no intention of supporting. I don't know if they were busy. I don't know if they had other things to do. All I knew was that I thought they were being extremely insensitive to the parents of the murdered children. So when it came to my turn to testify and I was introduced, I made a point of saying, Chairman Edwards, I want to make sure that it's entered in the record that I am specifically addressing the absent, Harold Washington and Pat Schroeder, who have left the hearing room. Oh my
gosh.
Of course he did.
I mean,
that set the tone right off the bat. Adversarial. No one had ever never had the balls to address the committee that way. That afternoon, I decided to pay a visit to Harold Washington. Oh my God. Jay knew a sympathetic staffer who was able to get us a fast appointment, and Jay explained to me that Washington was important because he was going to be a swing vote on the committee. We waited and waited in the reception area where finally ushered in to see him. Now that we were inside, I didn't waste any time. I got right to it. Congressman Washington, how could you even consider voting against this bill? As a black congressman, you must know that there were 17 murders of black children committed in Atlanta before the police even called the FBI in to start investigating. It was a travesty down there, and the reason the investigation was such a mess is because everyone just assumed that it was the Ku Klux Klan who was killing those kids. You know, sir, you should have stayed in that hearing room to listen to Kamel Bell today. You should have paid attention to what was going on. I wish she'd come herself right into your office and tell you how things are. The whole time, Washington's staff guy was sitting there thinking, good Lord, this guy is giving the congressman holy hell. Washington finally said, well, Mr. Walsh, we have to weigh these things and take the prudent course, and all this pompous hot air. I was looking straight through him, thinking to myself, you know, John, this is pointless. This guy isn't hearing you no matter what you tell him. He's going to do whatever Don Edwards, the committee chairman, tells him to do. Finally, Jay and I got out of there. And in the hallway outside the office, I turned to him and said, that guy has survived political scandals, an IRS investigation, and disbarment from practicing law. He wasn't listening to me any more than the man in the moon. The whole time he was looking right past me. All he was waiting for was his next appointment to come walking through that door. Then something happened that would take place many more times over the years. Washington's staff guy, who had been sitting in the room with us the whole time, came up and did a good thing in there. I've never heard anyone talk to a congressman like that. And you know what? You're right. He is one pompous son of a bitch.
Not me, kiddo.
Holy shit. While I was doing the Washington end of things, Reve was learning about running nonprofit by the seat of her pants. One day, a guy showed up at the center and asked to speak with her. She had no idea who he was. She looked out her two-way mirror at him thinking, who is this guy and what does he want? At the same time, she was on the phone with a detective down in Virginia somewhere who was telling her about a pilot program that some people were trying to start. Something that would put the most dangerous criminals, killers, and rapists and really bad people into a computerized profiling system. It all sounded pretty important to Reve, like really serious law enforcement stuff. She was understanding everything that this guy was saying. The problem, he said, was that they couldn't seem to get this program off the ground. You mean we don't have anything like this show now, she said? You mean the FBI isn't already doing anything like that? No, ma'am. We've been trying to get it going for a few years now, but no one's really interested. What this guy really wanted to know was that the center could help him with some political and financial support. By the time Reve finished with the call, the guy waiting outside was gone, but he had left a packet of materials with his card. His name was Denny Abbott. At the end of November, 3 months after Adam was killed, Reve and I went to a 4-day conference in Louisville that turned out to be one of the first national gatherings of people who were looking into the issues of missing children, runaways, and child prostitution. Some years before, a guy named John Robin, a Baptist minister and social worker who ran half a dozen shelters for runaways in Jefferson County, Kentucky, began to wonder why as many as 1,200 kids a year from that area were running away from home. Since a lot of the kids wound up working for pimps as street prostitutes, he asked the police for help, and they basically told him to buzz off. We decided to bring them facts they couldn't ignore, Rubin said later. So for nearly a year, he spent his nights on the streets, taking down license plate numbers, learning the names of pimps, mapping out how and where Louisville's sex industry operated. After talking to Rubin, a Jefferson County judge by the name of Mitch McConnell decided to organize a task force to look into the problem. And that task force found out that what was happening in Louisville was also happening in Chicago and a lot of other places. Kids hanging out on sidewalks and cars of customers cruising by to pick them up.
That's a good cop. That's a good cop. I said, that's a good cop.
Yeah.
Like if there were more police and cops like that, this could come to an end.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Hey, Benita. You have a question? What's your question, Deb? So McConnell's task force eventually grew statewide, and pretty soon the cops couldn't ignore the problem anymore. They started making major arrests, and within 3 years, there were 28 major prosecutions, including ones of a couple of guys who had been prosecuting a truck stops, 2 13 and 14-year-old girls who had been missing for 2 years from a foster home. Another case involved a minister who ran a Louisville mission and was caught trying to sell a young boy for $6,000 worth of food stamps and $1,000 in cash. That is disgusting.
I knew it was something like that in my town that happened like that. It is disgusting. I think it happens more than we know.
Yeah. The city of Louisville had made a lot of changes. It cut way back in its child prostitution problem, created and funded body safety education programs in the schools, set up a nationwide missing child clearinghouse, eliminated parole for certain sex offenders against children, and started allowing courts to videotape testimony of children under 12 in sexual abuse cases so they wouldn't have to go through the trauma of testifying in open court. And now the conference made a list of 21 recommendations for other work and that still need to be done. Did they stop looking after finding the one body part or kept looking? No, I believe they stopped. Don't you think? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, I believe so. If I'll ask Megan actually, and she may know on Twitter. But I have no idea because like the book that she's reading, I read like when it first came out. I was a kid, and I don't really remember like the details of everything. But I don't believe. Because I have looked into a little bit of it since then, and I think it was really just, let's say, it got that head, you know. But there was another kid missing that was almost exactly the same age and everything as him in the same area. So I don't know. It was just kind of weird.
It is weird. We learned a lot at that Louisville conference, and it also brought us together with a group of pioneer child advocates who would become important to us. Ernie Allen, chairman of the Jefferson County Task Force, Ken Wooden, director of the National Coalition for Children's Justice, Howard Davidson, director of the American Bar Association Center on Children and the Law, Dr. Dan Broughton, pediatric consultant in the Mayo Clinic, John Rayburn, Mitch McConnell, as well as people we already knew, Paul Simon, Paula Hawkins, Kristen Cole Brown, Jay Howell, Julie Patz, and Camille Bell. Another person who was there was Denny Abbott. By that point, Reve knew very well who Denny was. A few years before, he had started a group in Florida called Child Advocacy, Inc., which did education and training on children's issues. Denny had been a representative for children in court, acting as an advocate for them if their parents were trying to do something that wasn't in their best interest. Reve went up and introduced herself, saying how sorry she was that she hadn't been able to talk to him that day at the center. Danny told her that he had come in to talk to her about how his group was losing its government grant. He wanted to know whether, with all the publicity about Adam's case, Reve might be able to help him get some funding. At the time, Reve hadn't been running the center for long. She had some of Adam's drawings to make Christmas cards for fundraising and had done some mass mailings, but even at that point, it was beginning to dawn on her that things were getting too big for her to handle by herself. Reve understood that to get anything going, you need a poster person to get people interested in an issue, and that's what she and I were. But she also knew that to really get things off the ground, it would take a whole lot of staff professionals who knew about legislation, law enforcement, and program implementation. It was time to get the pros and move in and take over. Denny Abbott was a terrific guy, and he had a lot of knowledge. His organization had been around for a while. He had done a lot of work with the Runaways. So he and Reve talked it over and decided that the smartest thing for everybody concerned was to merge our two groups together. We each had things to contribute. Denny's group had structure, a board in place, and leased offices. We had a high-profile publicity and our logo, the picture of Adam in his red baseball cap. We agreed on our goals, pooled all of our resources, and the organization that came out of it was the Adam Walsh Child Resource Center, located in Plantation, Florida. Not long after that, we went to another conference, this time in Covington, Kentucky. One of the children advocates who was there remembers that it was the very first time he ever saw Reve. She was sitting in the back of the room by herself, watching one of the speakers, and the whole time was rubbing a small piece of paper between her fingers, not even looking at it, but just kind of stroking it like you would some prayer beads. He looked a little closer and saw that the paper was actually a little picture of Adam. The guy's name was Robbie Calloway. At this time, Robbie was working in Washington with the Boys and Girls Club of America, chairing a coalition of about 40 organizations, the American Bar Association, national PTAs, the Boy Scouts, the YMCAs, and the big players in the juvenile justice arena. He was working for the reauthorization of something called the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act, and the Missing Children Act was part of the bill.
Which I might like to add right there, just really quick, that people please go do your homework on that. Go back if you have to rewind what she just said. Look up every single organization that she just mentioned, and look at the SA that goes along with it. That's all I want to say. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just had to bring that up so people can just look it up for themselves.
Wow, I believe it too. That's a sad thing. Not long after the conference, he had gotten a call from a friend on the Hill who said that she had a constituent who was trying to get some things done in Congress but wasn't being very well treated. He asked her what the guy's name was, and she said John Walsh. Robbie had certainly heard about the Adam Walsh case, so he agreed to meet with me and Jay Howell one morning. Jay was very knowledgeable, and I knew what he was doing. And me, as Robbie tells it, I was angry. I was ready to come and tear the Capitol apart. Every chance I got, I would go through my whole rap. If my car was stolen, the FBI would have taken a report, but they couldn't take a report on my missing son. It's true, I was angry at everybody, completely wired and not very focused. If anyone asked me a question, it would take me 30 minutes to answer it. It all made sense in the end, but if you tried to cut me off midstream, you couldn't tell where I was going with it. Jay and I knew that Robbie could help get us meetings with the key people on the Hill, and that's what we wanted. So he said, all right, I'll help you, but you have to take things one step at a time. That, of course, didn't appeal to me. What I didn't know about the Hill would fill a book, but I didn't care. During one of my very first meetings with Robbie, I said, I've got to meet with Strom Thurmond. He's the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
That's weird. What? I was best friends with her daughter in high school. I mean, I was best friends with his daughter in high school. He was from South Carolina.
Wow.
That's crazy. And she got killed by a drunk driver when she was going to the university. And she was competing in the Miss South Carolina pageant, and she was going across the street, and a drunk driver hit her and killed her, like, right on the spot. She was only, like, 20 years old at the time. But, yeah.
God.
That's weird. I'm sorry to interrupt. That just was really weird. I mean, like, she spent the night with me and stuff before, and like we were in pageants together, and like my mom did her hair and makeup. She used to pull her eyelashes out. Like, have you ever heard of that before? People, trichomania, like if you pull your hair out, like, but she pulled her eyelashes out, like literal eyelashes, and like it was some kind of nervous thing. And Strom Thurmond actually had a black child, and nobody ever found out about it until after he died, and he left her something, he left her as part of the will, but like she agreed to keep everything quiet because he was a very big racist, Southern good old boy politician, and he was third in line to be president at one point whenever Reagan, what do you call it, Bush, back whenever all that was, in office.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot to do with this, actually, because all that was going on at the same time that John Walsh was going to Washington all the time he took Megan with him even on a lot of these trips. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just finding out. And he made his children wear used clothes, which I don't see anything wrong with it because my kid wears hand-me-downs, but like, I don't know, he was just kind of mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had 6 kids, and Nancy was the one that I was friends with, but she was so sweet. Like, she was the sweetest girl. But like, it was weird because like whenever we hung around, we always had to have Secret Service like following us around or tailing us because if something happened to her, because she was a risk to be abducted. You know what I'm saying? For like ransom or whatever. So like, first week at the beach was real fun, with the Secret Service.
Yeah, be so
I'm telling you. That's creepy though. I didn't think about him being involved in anything like that, but I guess, who knows?
It says, during one of my very first meetings with Robbie, I said, I've got to meet with Strom Thurmond. He's the chairman of the Seattle Judiciary Community, and I've really got to talk to him. Robbie said, John, listen to me. Senator Thurmond is not going to meet with you just like that. We've got to do it the right way. First, I'll set up a meeting with a member of his staff, and once the staff member does the right thing, then we'll try for a meeting with the senator. I'm sorry, but that's the way things work in Washington. You got to go through the channels. Let's just say that I didn't fully appreciate that. Of course you didn't.
How dare he turn away a meeting with me, John Walsh, the god?
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely has a god complex of some sort.
And that if Robbie had been in my position, he would have felt the same way. I argued with him a lot back and forth those days, but he still says that I was the most results-oriented person he ever met, and also one of the most impassioned. So that became our little working group. Me, the bereaved parent, Jay, the staffer from the Hill, and Robbie, the facilitator. I remember the first meeting that I ever had in Strom Thurmond's office with one of his staffers. The guy was being such an obnoxious, unbelievably arrogant Washington bureaucrat. He was saying things like, "Gentlemen, we are simply not going to take up the issue. I can assure you that the FBI knows what it's doing. We're not going to put ourselves in a position of challenging them. And no, the senator is not going to take an interest in this." Robbie, of course, happened to know Thurmond personally and knew he would be interested in it, but this guy didn't care. He was totally blowing us off. I was getting angrier and angrier. Robbie was trying to talk to this staffer, and all the time he was doing it, he was also leaning really hard on my knee, trying to push me back down in my seat because he could tell that I was getting ready to hit this guy. Wasn't that nice? Wow.
Who is he going to hit?
The staffer in Thurmond's office.
Oh, wow. Well, that wouldn't have went over well for him.
No.
No.
But Robbie just kept talking, trying to calm things down. In his head, he was saying, "Please, John, do not slug this guy. He works for the United States Senator, and that would not be a good thing."
No.
Oh my God.
That's just common sense.
I can still see that staffer's smug face, nondescript, like all of them. Blue suit, red tie, white shirt, so impressed with their own importance. Really? I'm pretty sure that's you too, Don. Like, seriously.
I'm just saying, like, God.
And Mr. Walsh, you probably don't understand how we run things here on the Capitol Hill. You have to understand the complexities and nuances of the legislative process. I said, I understand them very well. What I understand is that you are the guy keeping me from seeing Strom Thurmond to explain to him why we need more hearings on the Missing Children Act. And if you don't let me see him, I will have my friend Paul Hawkins call him personally, and your ass will be in a sling because I'm going to see the senator personally. And when he finds out what a pompous asshole you've been, you are going to be history.
Because I am John Walsh, and you will roll out the red carpet for me to meet Strom Thurmond. You hear? I mean, it's like, what?
Wow, oh my God.
Entitled much? Like I said, I mean, he has got the biggest ego of anybody I've ever met or heard of.
Wow. Oh my God.
I would have loved to have seen what Strom Thurmond really would do, because I know the man. You personally, like, been to his house, as a kid. And I'm just saying, like, he's a nice guy and has a heart and stuff. Like, he might have done something, but like, he's not that kind of guy that somebody walks in there and talks to him like that. I mean, he'd have handed him his ass right on the plate.
Wow. And it says, "Now, Mr. Walsh, there's really no need to resort to those types of intimidation tactics. It's not about intimidation. It's about doing the right thing." I was getting right up in this guy's face. I wanted to punch him. I was so frustrated and so heartbroken and have been jerked around so much by people who are putting me off or patronizing me, or people who are putting me off patronizing me or using me for their own manipulative games. People would make comments and blow me off because they got a better deal somewhere else, or because all of a sudden it seemed like too much work. Sometimes I would just break down and lose it totally. Those were such hard times. To this day, that guy does not have any idea how close I was to popping him.
I wish he would have. I really do.
I do too. Yeah, and I hope the guy would have popped him right fucking back.
Oh my gosh, more than that, the daggum Secret Service would have come in there and threw his butt in jail.
Yeah. Then he goes, like, it would have gotten me arrested, but it would have felt so good. At the same time, the FBI was being brutal to us. I had been trying to get some help from them, and they totally turned their backs on us. Totally. All during that period, there was a lot of press coverage about the Missing Children Act and all the opposition to it, including the FBI's. One day we got a phone call from a reporter who let us know just exactly what the FBI was saying about it. When she had asked a high-ranking borough official for comment, he said that missing children are domestic matters, that they should be reported to local police, and that if we kept pushing for the missing children bill, the borough would fight for its defeat. As for Reve and me, he added, that couple down in Florida can go pound salt.
Oh gosh.
Wow. Oh, this is still a long chapter. Holy shit. All right, I'm just going to need like 5 more minutes of it and then.
Now, who told him that? To go eat salt? Is that what he said?
Yeah. It was when they asked a high-ranking borough official for a comment. He said that missing children are domestic matters. They need to be reported to local police, and that if we kept pushing for the missing children bill, the borough would fight for its defeat. As for Reve and me, he added, that couple down in Florida can go pound salt.
Okay. I do that again. That was great.
That was pretty good. I guess I was really starting to annoy some people.
You think? You're annoying us. We ain't even got halfway through the book.
Wow, this guy, I'm telling you. There was, for example, the day that I went over to the Justice Department with Jay and John Robin for a press conference to hear what Justice's position was on the Missing Children Act. I hadn't been officially notified. Somebody had slipped me the word. The deal was not a lot of press would be there, and if they saw me, they'd probably try to ask me some questions too. So I showed up, and sure enough, the press room was packed. The first thing I did was step right over to where the bank of microphones had been set up for all the officials who were going to speak. I got right up there where all the cameras were pointed, really close, a real transgression. As soon as they started taking questions, I asked one. I don't remember exactly what I said, just dropped one of my famous bombshells immediately. I got grabbed firmly by the arm. The guy said, Mr. Walsh, as far as you're concerned, that's the end of the press conference. Why don't you come with me? Then all hell broke loose. Reporters were jumping up, trying to talk to me. A woman from the Justice Department was trying to help the guy hustle me out. No, Mr. Walsh doesn't have anything more to say. This is Justice Department property. Keep moving, keep moving.
That is fun. Jay Sleds asked what child was missing the same time as Adam. She said she never heard about that. Any info appreciated. So I was going to tell her who it was. Actually, it was Eaton Patz, spelled ETANPATZ. I think she talked about that a little bit earlier, maybe. Yeah. I remember that. And it basically was in the same like town or area as him. Now, it was a little bit, I think, before he went missing, but still, nonetheless, like he was the same, like age and the same MO and everything of Adam. So, I think that, they were saying like the teeth or something didn't line up really with Adam's teeth in the picture and line more up with this little kid with his picture. So
exactly, because it was
gonna look into that.
Yeah, like his teeth, like he had, what was it? Adam had one tooth missing, but yet the head that was found had 2. Something like that, or was it he had 2?
Well, it was the other way around. It was the fact that he had 2 baby teeth that had already gotten out at the same time. One was kind of starting to just barely, you know how when you lose your teeth, they barely kind of the hard little stuff comes through first, and it's just down just where you could barely see it below the gum line, kind of like that. Well, this head that they found, like had a full-grown adult tooth in that place instead, and like that just totally does not match up, because if he would have been dead as long as that would have shown in the autopsy, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that a tooth can grow back like that in a decapitated head. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah, it didn't make sense.
And that's why all this happened with Megan, because that's what she was asking about. That's what started the whole thing.
Yeah, and she has every right to ask about that, because something's wrong there, big time.
Yeah, that's her brother.
Okay, I'm just going to read the last little bit, and then I'm going to stop. The guy, firm grip on my arm, was saying, "You're going outside, buddy." And the woman was saying, "You've really crossed the line here, Mr. Walsh. You've really got a lot of nerve pulling a stunt like that." And I was saying, "I thought this was the Justice Department." Isn't this about justice? Isn't this whole thing about justice for children? Are you guys working for the KGB or something? Duff. Okay. The next thing I knew, I was out the door, right out on the street, not handcuffed or anything, but definitely the bum's rush. Jay and John had no idea where I was. Nobody knew where I was. That was the day I got thrown out of the Justice Department. Well, good. I mean, I understand what he's trying to do, but still.
Right. I mean, I would be the same way. I'm not going to lie. Like, if my kid got missing out of a mall like that, just say this is a true scenario, all of us would go to the ends of the earth and act like a fool, you know, to get our kid back. No doubt about it. But I'm just saying, like, I'm sure most of us would not probably write a book and make our own self look like
a martyr, the hero, the best.
Yeah. That's the thing I find weird about it, you know. It kind of reveals to me his true personality. And I've been so fooled. We were talking about that earlier. Like somebody said, I feel so deceived or fooled. I was like, don't. I think we all were. He was touted to be this great guy, you know?
Yeah, I always thought he was until I read the first freaking page of this book and I went, wow, really?
You started to see things different.
Oh, damn right I did, right off the bat.
Hmm.
Do we know if John Walsh did identification? How was Adam identified? I think it was the coroner that had pretty much identified him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Family at all. And they still, from what I know of, have not returned Adam's head whatsoever. So they have like a coffin, but there's nothing in it.
Right. Kind of like what happened with what's her name? What was that? Was it Gabby Petito? They went ahead and like did a memorial and stuff before they actually got her actual ashes back, I think.
Yep.
But I mean, I think they did get them back, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of unsolved thing. And the weird thing to me is this person is reaching out, you know, and begging John Walsh to do a DNA test, and John Walsh refuses. Well, if I thought my kid was dead and decapitated, and somebody, you know, has even a slight bit of proof that he could be, you know, indeed that child, I would bust everything I could. I mean, to go and you don't even have to meet him because it could be a wacko, but you know, set it up where he has his blood drawn at a place where he lives, and you have it, and send it to a certain person that, like a lawyer or something. It's not hard to do. In fact, Megan said she went and did it 2 times, and they had it done 2 times, but both tests got lost.
That's ridiculous. I mean, exactly. Like if it was my child missing and they found this head, they need DNA. I'd cut my fucking arm off if I had to. Take my legs, arms, I don't care.
You're right.
I would do anything and everything. Yeah, that's as far as I know of. They never ever did receive his head. Never.
And how weird is it too that they lost both of their samples? Both times they went and did it. Like they lost the first one, so they went back and did it again. They lost the second one. What are the chances of that?
Yeah, and because now John or Reve won't give their blood samples now, isn't that right?
Right.
Megan's willing.
Yeah, she already did it. She did it twice.
Yeah. That's sick.
They lost it. And I'm just saying, like, you just can't, like, make that kind of stuff up. Like, this is out of her own mouth. I mean, she, like, says it out, you know, public. She doesn't mind telling it.
Exactly. I'm wondering, like, I wonder if she just keeps doing it again and again and again. Just keep giving her blood then. Say, here, fine, I'll be here every week. Every Wednesday I'm coming.
Right.
I'll fucking figure it out.
Exactly.
So where's the head? The head is in the police station. They have it in the evidence locker.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they really didn't close that case for a while. And then they finally pinned it on that Otis Toole guy, who was known for giving false confessions about children missing, just to stay alive. You know, how some people will make a deal to, you know, so they don't get the death penalty. And I think that was a situation, something similar to that. Mm-hmm. You know, where they'll say, oh, well, I killed another kid. They'll keep you alive as long as you're giving them, like Ted Bundy, I think he did that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And he's a no, you know, Otis is a known liar. Like, I mean, come on. And the mouth of this head does not match with
It doesn't, and it doesn't look anything. And I understand. I mean, it's a canal, and the head was in the canal, regardless if it was him or anybody. I understand it's not going to be a perfect, look alike or whatever, but the teeth, that's going to be the same.
Well, yeah, the teeth matter here, and apparently that's not being looked at, or they do and they just don't care. So what happened with this other boy? He was never found then.
Right.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if that's the only one that was missing. Like, I just remember there were several, like, kids missing around that time, like, all over the place. And then you have the Johnny Not Gosh stuff that came up right after that, and the other newspaper boys that went missing. And, it just leads into a lot of weird things.
A lot of conspiracies that can be true. A lot of conspiracies that probably aren't conspiracies. And that's stuff that I like to look into, figure it out, and be like, okay, we got it.
Mm-hmm. There's a group called The Finders. I'll tell y'all, if you want to look that up. And there's a movie out, actually, that talks a little bit about it. But it actually is something that happened in Florida, interestingly enough. They were arrested in Florida, which is where John Walsh was living. Yeah. That's weird. But actually, I found it weird because I was already doing, like, studying on the Founders because I looked into that after that Summer Wells went missing. And Tom Hanks had some weird cryptic things on his Instagram, and I used to, like, take pictures of it. And I would, like, because I'd get these weird vibes off of it. And there was this one that he was standing by Route 66 and said, there was a glove, and he said, hope this is not Cappy's glove, and that was where Isaac Cappy was, like, off on Route 66, right after he gets involved with this child trafficking and, like, telling the names of these people, like Seth Green and all these people that are big stars who are into what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. And so it gets into, like, that deep kind of stuff, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And the Finders, it's called the Finders Cult, and you can look it up. And it's actual, like, and they were in the CIA, and the CIA actually, like, looked into it, and, like, the documents have been, what do you call it? When they actually release them, they don't make them classified anymore. They declassified them. Yeah. Now, some of the names are redacted, but yeah, it's really. And I've got some information, Nikki, that, like, whenever I talk to you, I'll share it. Yeah. Maybe when we do this another night with this other stuff, I got it actually through Megan and another guy, and it talks about the things that are going on now, this very same stuff with, like, high officials. And they just gave these affidavits in September.
Wow.
Yeah, just this past September. And it's people that are, like, up there now, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. We should definitely discuss that and just keep going. I think this whole truth crime thing is, like, our jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's crazy. It just never stops.
Right. And if we can help in any way, it would help me sleep better at night. For one. And it's just, I feel like there's not enough eyes on a lot of these cases. And if YouTuber's going to help solve it, guess what? Let's do it.
Yeah, because it's going to put the pressure on. You know what I'm saying? Like, them, because they're going to see, oh my gosh, people are waking up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're seeing through this, and we're not able to get away with it like we were.
Yep, I agree. Hopefully get this whole, Megan Walsh situation sorted out. And that's what Megan can still give her DNA. Absolutely. The thing is, are they going to keep losing it?
Right. Like, how many times is she going to have to do it?
Yeah, regardless, if I was her, I would go every week and I would just keep going every week. I would fucking sit there and I'm like, I'm not leaving ever because you're going to take my blood and you're going to match it up. And I'm not leaving even if it's for a week. I'll sit in this goddamn chair. I don't care.
Right.
That's exactly how it would be because I don't trust them.
I mean, even if she had to take a cop, just to make sure everything is safe, because she doesn't really know this guy, to take a cop and take her to the same place, just meet, but just like her have, a cop to usher her so she's safe, and they can take it in the same hospital, and then maybe if they wait there on the results, like surely, what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if they could do it that fast, but I don't know much about the DNA testing rules or how they can do it, but it just seems to me if they did it enough, surely one time it'll go through.
Yeah, I agree. She's got all these samples. I mean,
But if you think about it right now, her head is so full of trying to get her babies back.
Yeah.
She probably can't even think about that. And that's probably one reason her dad's doing all this to keep her crazy. You know how they did Britney Spears, you know what I'm saying? Make her look crazy. And they run them crazy. Honestly, think about having your baby ripped out of your hands like that, your 5-day-old baby.
She definitely handled that better than I ever would.
Oh, you better believe it.
He took her rights away for all of them, though, now, right? They're all
yeah.
Holy fuck. That is disgusting.
I know. And that's why, like today, I was like, look, we're going to spread this stuff. You know, like we're going to put it on her channel, talking about yours, and on mine. And I said, we're going to make sure, like, other people are too. You know, we're not the only ones. I said, but it takes everybody. It's going to take a lot of voices. You know what I'm saying? But if enough women stand up, enough mamas and daddies, both, you know, to the point that they're just like, we can't not address this now.
Yeah. Exactly. I totally agree. And so I'm thinking, like, well, it's completely up to Megan. I know that you talked to her.
Yeah.
So I was just gonna read this book and keep reading it until the very end of it, and then show the photos that are in here, as well as their supposed killer. They think was the killer. Yeah, it's still not even 100% back, because it says, this is the man I believe is responsible for my son's murder, and it's Otis O'Toole, which they still don't know. So I don't know. I was thinking, so after I'm done, maybe she'll be ready or be able to come up here. We can do the videos and show all the stuff about Megan, because this is, to me, completely linked.
It's like a mind bender, something or another. I don't know. It's just abuse of power at the grossest level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And to do this to your own child is just like worse than evil. Like, that's even beyond evil in my eyes. Like, I could never.
No, me neither. No, he should have never been untouchable. It shouldn't be anymore. I don't understand that.
And I just talked to her on Twitter, but like, I mean, she is definitely like in one-on-one communication, like through Twitter. But, you know, she's like me. Like, I'm very leery who I give my information to because of coming out. Like, when you live in a family that's got connections to places, like, you are really taking a chance, like, coming out when you have a family and stuff. And she's taking a big chance, way bigger chance than me. Like, I'm not nearly, you know what I'm saying, like, up in anything like she is. I mean, like, I'm a descendant and stuff, but, like, most of these people are all dead on my side. So, like, I'm not taking a big risk at all. I don't feel like I'm really doing anything except for just helping her get it out, too. Because, like, those of us who have been kind of through that need to kind of stick together and, like, just not be quiet about it. Just speak the truth.
Yep, absolutely.
She's doing that, and I think she's going to get these babies back. I really do. Like, there's just no way that anybody. I think this is going to get national attention eventually, because enough.
I think it will too.
People,
well, I'm in Canada, right? So the people that are going to see it over here, I'm hoping they pick up. I'm assuming they would pick up on this, right? So then you've got not only the States but Canada. Pretty big countries here.
Yeah, I think it's Canada and the United States, and probably even down in Mexico, because he used to give Mexico hell, honestly. And like when he would talk about the people, the immigrants or whatever, like, I'm not saying that there are not bad immigrants. I'm not saying that, but just the tone, like we've talked about earlier with him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think a lot of people in Mexico care for him too much. So I'm just saying, like, if this could get like nationally covered around in these big in this area through here, like North America and then South America even. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's gonna take something like that to take down a big person like John Walsh. Yeah. Because he's got like tentacles like an octopus that reach very far and wide.
Well, he's got money too, right? Money talks.
Right.
And money shuts people up.
Right. And power. And when you belong to these secret societies, you take oaths, and in these oaths you promise to cover your brothers, whatever they do. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I mean, to your own, like, even against the law, to break the law, and against, you know. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not talking about, like, in the lower levels or anything, but I mean, like, up when you get up in, like that higher 33rd degree, and then you've got, and Megan talks about that actually. If y'all go on Rumble, like she does have a You don't mind if I share it, do you,
No, please
Nikki?
do.
Because it shows a lot of the stuff, but her channel is red. It's on her Twitter. If you go on her Twitter and look, she has it also on there. But it's red, white, and boom, BOOM on
Red, white,
Rumble.
boom. Okay.
Yeah, because then you can look at everything that she's saying from her.
I'm actually gonna go look too. Try and follow her.
She just needs some soldiers, you know what I'm saying, like that will not, shut up about it.
One thing I'm gonna get pissed off about though, KJ comes anywhere near her, we're fucking warning her.
Oh my God. That is when I will drive my behind to what we're, like what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
The other way, like I'm serious. Like I'm not kidding. I probably would. I probably would go there, if nothing else, to teach her a lesson.
Yeah.
That may or may not require, or may not help her with her job issue. She really better not. Like if because she's good at picking, like you know what I'm saying, like jumping on the bandwagon with the bigger side, and like coming against the victims. Like I don't know what her issue is with that.
Yeah, I don't
But
either.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's like she goes for the victims, and like
She will go for her, I guarantee it. It's
yeah.
Why, oh.
Well, for her sake, I hope not. Oh, who? Megan?
Yeah.
I think she does on Twitter. She has a big following. I think on YouTube, I'm not sure if I really looked to see how many there were, and on the what do you call it? What I just call the name of it because I'm new to it myself.
Twitter.
The new thing, the Grumble or whatever it was that I said it was.
Yeah, I've never been on that one.
Well that's the new one. That I think it's fairly new, not very old, but that's where like a lot of her stuff is because it's like completely free speech. They don't censor any like you at all. If your conservative views, you know how a lot of times if you have a more conservative view about things, they'll shut you down, or if they say that you're speaking medical misinformation because you might differ in opinion. You know what I'm saying about other things that are forced on us that we may or may not want. Like the passport to get the old, I don't want to say it outright, but y'all know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The cure. Well, like she talks about stuff like that, and like that kind of stuff will get you shut down talking about that on like YouTube and like main platforms. So I think that's why she went there.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And what's the other one? Is it BitChute or something like that?
I don't know.
It's called BitChute, I think. I think I've been there like once or twice. Somebody might know. Like I'm not up on all these hip social media things. I'm an old lady.
I cannot find her on Twitter.
Who, Megan?
Yeah.
If you get on mine, like find me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
It should though just come up if you put her name in. I also put a link to her Twitter under the thing under my last video I did tonight. You can go there and push it, I think. I still can't figure Twitter out 100% all the way. Like, I don't know how to read other people's responses unless they tag me in them.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
petition.
okay, wow. She retweeted, her and Megan Walsh retweeted the tweet that I put up about the Tears of Rage, the
Yeah,
Adam
I
Walsh
see
story
that.
about tonight.
Shit.
I
Now,
think she, I just think she was just busy, honestly. She's got a lot going
oh,
on. I
probably.
mean, yeah. And then, because where I put it right there, she said to me right there, she said, and to the guy that was exposing a bunch of these other pictures and artwork, but at Tony Podesta's house and some other, the documents I'm talking about that I got, they're
Yeah.
classified. But right there, she was saying thank you very much with praying hands, and then another one, she said to tell you thank you very much for covering this.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, she's so welcome. Absolutely.
Did you find her now?
Yeah, I think so. The very
Okay.
first, it's a
It's a
picture.
picture of Ronald Reagan holding her when she was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think her Twitter name has like that thing at the end of the H right there. It's
Yeah.
like at the bottom line. I don't know what you call that thing. But it's like at Megan Walsh underscore, I think is what that's called.
Oh, okay.
And that's sad too. She's had skin cancer, and like her nose, bless
Yeah.
her heart, like
I
her
see.
nose was so bad. Now it's doing really good. She's been doing that Rick Simpson oil, but you can see the Band-Aid over her nose.
Yeah.
If you look, there's a petition. Do you see it? The direct link to her petition to
Yeah, there's
sign
a
it.
petition. For
And
it says,
yeah.
use your voice, God bless. Yeah.
So if everybody could go sign that, that would be great.
Yeah.
Because that's basically going to get this where it's going to go national. You know what I'm saying? Like if it gets enough signatures on the petition. So she can get her daughters back. That is just
Yeah,
so
exactly.
sad. And she's been going through this a while with her older children, and she was so scared. I think they were going to come after her with the baby.
Yeah.
And it's sad because they didn't even want them. That baby, because it was biracial, they
Yep.
just sent them to come in there and get it, and then he put it in the system. He would rather his own grandchild be in the system to punish his daughter.
Exactly.
If
That's disgusting.
that doesn't say what kind of person he is.
There, I signed it and tweeted it.
Good. I mean, she's close to this number now. Thank goodness. Hopefully, everybody will go over there, and the people that see it, hopefully they will. Because if they look into it, they can see, look, how this could happen easily to them. If it happened to her, you better believe.
Yep. Oh, I want that. Tim Hortons has got a trick or treat bucket filled with 31 Timbits. And the little bucket's so cute.
Oh, where'd you see that?
On her Twitter.
Oh. I just feel like something has to be done. Now with this other corruption coming out with this Summer Wells thing, it's just like, it just seems everything is so, something's up. You know what I'm saying? Like with it, like even with that Truckee situation with that little girl, that Kylie Rodney, like they said she was 5'7" and 115 pounds or 117 pounds. One or two. I mean, like I remember because it was so close to what like my thing was.
Yeah.
But like I was just thinking, I was like, wait a minute. When her autopsy came back, it said that she was 5'5" and was like
What?
103 pounds. I was like, y'all, come on. That's weird. And they're saying it was an accident. They're ruling it an accident, and she was in the hatch in the back, like locked down.
Yeah.
Like what? You're right. Okay, it's just weird. And there's like 10 other cases right now in Placer County, which is where like this is taking place at, and there are 10 people who they have named as an accident. Okay, like several of them were found in a canal dead, and then the rest of them were on railroad tracks. Now, how weird is that? And they're all put as an accidental or an off in your own self thing. And the mother of many of these victims are like begging out for like somebody to pay attention to the case, because like they're saying that my child would not have done that to themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
I don't think this is coming out right now I'm saying, I think it's no coincidence is what I'm saying, that Megan is coming out right now with all this stuff. Like, I do believe like things happen for a reason a lot of times.
Me too, actually.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just weird how she's coming out right now with this, and then all these other things that are going on, that people are starting to actually look at it and think about it. Use a little bit of cognitive thinking,
Yeah.
And wasn't there a serial killer or something you said off in Canada a while back right there? Did they ever find that person?
They did. They were brothers, Indigenous brothers, and they killed oh my God, it was like they injured, I think it was like 39 people. 11 of them were murdered by knife, and this was on their own like reservation.
Yeah.
They killed their own people. I don't understand that. It was two brothers, and the one brother killed his brother, and he was found. And then the one brother they caught, which was Miles, they caught him, brought him into custody, and he died there too. So they're both dead.
Wow, that's weird.
Uh-huh.
That sounds strange. I don't know. Maybe you can cover that sometime, because we can't really. Sometimes I couldn't find anything on it here. Yeah. Dang, that's weird. I don't know. Something seems weird about that. Like, why would they do that? Like, that's weird that, like, most of the time, like, things like that don't like, serial killers don't, like, usually come off of the, you know what I'm saying, like, the reservations or indigenous people. Like, I hate to say it, but most serial killers are Caucasian. In fact, the only one I can think of that was black, that if it's true, was the Williams guy in Atlanta that killed all the little black boys, in Atlanta. I don't know if any of y'all remember that.
Yeah, that was horrible.
But now, Deb was talking earlier about was it Michigan, Deb? You said, and she actually, I've got to go there later and watch it. But she has the information about a serial killer that has been going around and doing what Jeffrey Dahmer did, but only to women, not the men.
Jeez, no, I didn't hear that.
But you know what I'm saying, to the same racial thing about it, how he went with the darker skin. The guys he was attracted to that. Well, it's like a Caucasian guy, but he is evidently like attracted to a certain type that is darker skin. And like, I need to go there later because she's got a video about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a huge killings. It was a spree killer, you would call them, because they did kill a lot on the reservation, but then they kept going. And then Miles ended up killing his younger brother, Damien. And actually Damien didn't kill anybody.
So
so that was weird.
So it was only the one brother really that was doing another killing.
Yeah. And then he killed his own brother. I was like, what?
How old are they?
Oh shit. Probably in their 30s.
Early 20s or 30s?
Yeah.
They weren't old.
They weren't old at all, no.
I wonder what he was into. That sounds crazy.
It is.
He must have got some bad stuff.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like it was all in one night or something? Is that what a mass killing is? You do it like on a spree or something?
Yeah, but then they ended up, they did a whole bunch in the one spot, and then they just it was almost like they went door to door killing
Mm.
when they were hiding, and yeah, it was
Ooh,
bad.
that's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's why, yeah, especially when it's their own people.
Yeah,
It was a total hate crime against their own people. I don't understand it.
me neither. What was their tribe? Do you know? Like what they were?
Blah, blah, blah. What the hell was it?
Because I know that has to go with like areas. You know what I'm saying? Like certain where you know what I'm saying certain
Yeah.
type of Native Americans are more
Cree.
indigenous.
It was
Creed,
yeah. CREE, the Cree Nation.
Cree, yeah, Cree. I said Creed. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like Apollo Creed, but it's Cree. I've actually heard of them before. It seems like in high school.
Yeah.
I'm not sure like what exactly their beliefs are, but they all have a little bit different beliefs. You know,
Yeah, they do.
depending on the tribe or area or whatever. And they always don't get along either with each other. A lot of times, you
Yeah.
know.
Sad to see.
Mm, it's terrible.
Oh, I should get off here though. I'm getting hungry. I had a very early dinner.
I did too.
Now I'm hungry. My son's hungry, so I'm gonna go make us something. Oh, I'm gonna make that chocolate mousse finally.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds good.
And some chocolate chip cookies. They don't take long, so I figured we'll just make some junk food.
I do that sometimes for supper. I'm not gonna lie. It's so quick just to flip that together.
Yeah, well, we already
Something
had
like that.
supper. It was just really early, and I
Yeah,
don't want a meal, but we
you just
do.
want a little snack. Just a little
Yeah,
snack.
there's some stuff that we need to make, so I was like,
Go ahead and do it and enjoy it. Well, I'm glad we were able to talk about a lot of this, especially get her name kind of
yeah.
out there and get people aware, you know, so they can maybe help her and spread the word on their own pages that they have. Bless
I,
her heart. I mean, we're in mamas, so we, you know, our heart can feel that. You know what I'm saying? Like that
yeah.
cry of a mother's heart, especially of a brand newborn baby. Oh my God.
I'm just in awe over that. That son of a bitch.
I know it. I mean, she's breastfeeding for goodness sake. Can you imagine every time that baby cries, her breast actually aches? I mean, that's the kind of stuff like it makes me just cry when I sit and think
Yeah.
about
Well,
it.
that is so sad. Thank you, Brenda.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go watch something funny or something to get my
Yeah,
mind
I
in a
always
better
my
space.
go-to
Yeah,
is Mrs. Brown's Boys. Always.
yeah. I'm gonna go eat me something sweet too. I'm with you. I'm gonna go eat me something sweet and watch something funny.
Yeah, homemade chocolate chip cookies and chocolate mousse.
Heck yeah! I wish somehow you were my neighbor and like we we could. Okay, I'm gonna make some angel food cake. I got some angel
Cool.
food with some strawberry with the strawberry
Oh,
sitting
yeah.
in the sugar, and then you put the whipped cream on top.
That's
And it soaks it up.
yeah.
Oh, so we could
That's
just,
good stuff.
if we were close, we could share.
We would become so fat. I am telling
I'm
you.
telling. Oh no, I'll just get fatter. I'm already fat. I'll just get fatter. I tell people now to kiss my ass in increments.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh, it's hilarious. Anyway, well, I love y'all, and I appreciate you letting us. I'm talking like Casey, like there's more of me than one. Well, I said kiss my ass in increments, so maybe there is. But I appreciate you letting me on the show,
No,
and
of course. You're doing this with me all the way.
yeah, I appreciate it. We need to get together, and I'll send you actually these things that I'm talking about. I'm going to email them to you. Okay, so
Yeah.
just look for an email from me.
Okay.
All right, I'll
Yeah.
talk to you later. Y'all
All
have a
right.
good night and enjoy your good snacks.
Oh yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Knock me off. I don't know how to get up.
Okay, I'll do it. Aw. Yeah, I should get off here. Well, thanks for joining me, guys, and I hope you have a great night. What is tomorrow? Tuesday. Tuesday, I have absolutely nothing to do, so I might just do a surprise live. Hopefully, like paranormal. That's what I want to do, anyways. Well, we'll see. You guys have a great night. Bye.